I'm Bill Gates, Maricopa County Supervisor, and really excited to have everyone with me today. Thanks for joining me here on Facebook Live. We've got a great guest today for my county coffee. Now, over the years, I've done, first when I was on the city council, I would do coffee chats, and then we turned them into county coffees. Obviously, in our current environment, we're not in a position to go out in the community as we've done before and hold these coffees. So instead, we're doing them virtually, and really excited today to have a fabulous guest to be kicking these off. Our guest today is Glenn Hammer. Glenn is a good friend who I've worked with in many different environments over the years. But over the past many years, he's been the president and CEO of the Arizona Chamber of Commerce. And it is not hyperbole at all to say that Glenn has as much to do with the success of our business community, our private sector, as anyone in the state of Arizona. And I'm just thrilled to have Glenn with us today.
It's great to be on your show, and it's thank you for your awfully kind words, and I just want to thank you for your leadership. You're a model public servant, and we're just lucky, not just in Maricopa County, but in the entire state. You are in this position during the worst health crisis this state and country has faced in over 100 years.
Well, thank you for those kind words, but I'm gonna send the praise back in your direction. You and I had a conversation, Glenn, very early in the middle of very early on in this pandemic, and it was clear already at that point you were literally reading everything you could, getting in touch with the smartest people out there, the people with the most knowledge on this, and I thank you for that. I credit you for that, and I think that's why you've been able to give such great advice to leaders across our state and really across our country.
I appreciate those words. Through my job, I've had the chance to do a lot of pretty neat things with the U.S. Chamber in particular, and some of that is also touches on the international side. So I want to credit some of the national groups as well for really seeing what could hit our shores hard from a little bit of a further distance than some others, and I've just done my best to stay on top of some of those trends.
And so to dig into that a little bit more, Glenn, can you talk to us about what types of challenges the businesses across Arizona are facing in this pandemic?
Yeah, so the health crisis has certainly become an economic crisis. Before this struck, and it was literally almost mid-pitch in a spring training game. I mean, everything was going so incredibly well. We had the healthiest economy we have ever had in our state's history. The biggest problem for employers was they couldn't find enough skilled workers. Mm-hmm. And I can't wait till we get back to that problem. It used to be that a bad week would be 3,500 unemployment claims. Well, when this first hit, that spiked to 150,000, 50 times. So in the 7 or 8 weeks since we've been dealing with this, the unemployment claims have climbed to about 500,000 at least. That's a good 20% of our state's workforce. And certain sectors like tourism have just been decimated. Restaurants have been hit hard, retail. So we've never seen anything like this. And, we've lost nationally, probably at least temporarily, well over a quarter, 25% of our small businesses, and some may never come back. So we've never seen anything quite like this.
But Glenn, while this has been going on, I know you haven't been just reading stuff. I know you've been doing a lot of things. Can you talk about what the Chamber's been doing for its members?
Well, I want to first say that we've been in constant communication with our elected officials, and one of the things that I believe that the Trump administration has done that's very important is he's basically said red state, blue state, purple state, the governors are in control. We're going to set some guidelines, mm-hmm. but the governors are going to set the tone, and then work with county and city leaders to implement the guidance. So probably the most important thing I could say is that our Governor Doug Ducey, really set the model in terms of his essential services and activities orders. It was a lighter, smarter touch to keep as much oxygen in our state's economy as he possibly could in a safe manner. So things like manufacturing and construction were never closed. Other states like Ohio and New York are now in the discussion mode of reopening.
That's a
Activities
great
like
point.
golf, he kept open with social distancing. He
Hmm.
was mocked by that, and now what's happened? Even New York has opened up uh, activities to include golf and some of the outdoor recreational. And then step by step, the governor's been opening up for elective surgeries and procedures and visits like dental visits or cancer care or colonoscopies. And then he opened it up to retail and then to restaurants for sit down. And now we're in the phase where it's going to be fitness centers today and spas and gyms and pools, and then later sports leagues without spectators, which could be very important as we hopefully will get Major League Baseball to do some of its games here, and we hear the beautiful words "play ball." So we've been communicating those. We've been communicating on behalf of our members ways that we believe we could safely keep as much oxygen into this economy as possible, and then identifying issues like liability reform for healthcare, for manufacturers. A lot have gone outside of their scope of work to help meet the protective gear challenge, as well as for businesses that are opening during this difficult time. We don't want them sued out of existence if they're abiding by good health guidelines.
Well, Glenn, I think you just did a wonderful job of summarizing all that you've been able to do, and the advice you've been able to give to leaders like me, like the governor, and that advice has been followed to the benefit of all of us, in my opinion.
And Supervisor, if I could add one point on the federal level, I do want to commend our delegation for really working well together. I mean, this is not a time for partisan politics, and by and large, the 3 or 4, depending on you count them, relief packages have had very strong bipartisan support. And in terms of the business support, the most important program that's in the what it's called the Federal CARES Act is the program that deals with small businesses, and that's the Paycheck Protection Program. And in this state, thanks to our banks, our community lenders, and just the hard work of groups like Chicanas por la Casa, we've have over 70,000 Arizona small businesses, probably employing easily several 100,000 Arizonans that have received these loans, which could turn into forgivable grants for 8 weeks worth of payroll, rent, and utilities. So what we've been doing through caresactaz.com is educating the smaller of the small businesses how they can apply and how they could stay afloat and get this lifeline during this traumatic time.
Yeah, that's a great point. You guys have done a wonderful job with that. I know our friends over at GPEC have been very active. You mentioned CPLC. So thank you. That's been an absolute lifeline for so many of these small businesses and their employees. So thanks for your work on that.
And I would be remiss if I didn't also give great praise to Sandra Watson of the Arizona Commerce Authority. Sandra has been leading the business relief effort. And when you take a look at what's been going on with Arizona Together, all of the charitable contributions, and just the daily programming the Arizona Commerce Authority has for small businesses, that has also been extremely helpful across the board.
Well, and maybe just to do a little teaser at this point to follow up on that, I think, as you know, Glenn, I serve on the Workforce Arizona Council, who's led by our great chairwoman, Dawn Grove. And I just got a sneak preview of some great marketing materials that will be going out about people who maybe are underemployed right now or unemployed, and the opportunities for them to get some training, additional training during this period that will then make them more marketable to our Arizona companies when we come out of this and return stronger.
Well, Dawn Grove does such a fantastic job, and we're so lucky that she's been the chair of our Arizona Manufacturers Council for many years, and she's the incoming chair of the Arizona Chamber. But I think that's so important because we have workforce changes, and when we have so many people out of work, let's find a way during this period to get the skills they need to have greater versatility And where there are these open positions, because we know for data and internet and stuff like that, we do need extra people. And then
Yeah.
I think of Maricopa County and occupations like contact tracing. We have more people in the pool of labor than we did a month ago, and we know a lot of these people would genuinely love and do a great job in these different positions.
That's a great point. Well, as we start to kind of look to the future now, as you know, you and I are very proud of the fact that Maricopa County has been the fastest growing county for the last 3 years. But we want to get back to that, right? And Glenn, what do you think our prospects are for our businesses, our small businesses, as we pull out of this in the months and years ahead?
I'm more bullish long term on Arizona than I ever been, and the reason why is because we have all worked together very well to make the state the most competitive place in the country to do business. So you mentioned, the last 3 years, Maricopa County, where we're both seated right now, presumably, we can't prove it, maybe.
Yes.
That's saying something. It's about 4.5 million people, if I'm more, give or take a couple, and it's growing. Arizona State University, right, with their nerve center is right here in Maricopa County. I've lost track. Is it 5 years the most innovative university
Yeah.
in the country? And then you've got beachheads in here from Northern Arizona University and the University of Arizona. So we are getting a more and more educated workforce. We have a great business environment, and I don't want to. I want to just emphasize. I'm so proud. I love bragging about what you've done on the contact tracing part, because lower density locations are going to be more attractive after this situation. And the fact that Maricopa County has taken the lead to really go after and find out what's going on with each and every positive case, that's something that does not exist. And I think for a lot of people that are looking at where to live, they're also going to be looking at density and safety. And that's an area where we have a lot to talk about, and in large part thanks to your vision.
Well, no, thanks for that. But I think you're right. I think some just due to happenstance and also due to some hard work and planning, Maricopa County is going to be well positioned moving as we return prior to a vaccine. I think we're going to be really well positioned. And then once that vaccine is there, we will be, unstoppable.
I agree. And I think of, manufacturing, and it wasn't lost on me that where did the president make his first real visit out
Yep.
after this pandemic? It was to right here, Maricopa County, Phoenix, to the Honeywell facility, to highlight that right here in our backyard, they're producing not number one, not number two, not number three, the number one piece of personal protective equipment that's the hottest of hotcakes in the world, the N95 mask. So, when you think about the U.S. Mexico Canada agreement that's going to take effect July 1, and the work that we all put into that, and the fact that a lot of companies are going to look at moving their operations and their supply chains to North America. You take a look at our geographic proximity, the fact that we're building more and more with Mexico and a relationship with Canada. It will be back to regular programming. I would expect we will continue to be the fastest growing county well into the foreseeable future.
Good, good. Well, I'm happy to hear you say that. I tend to agree. Now, obviously, historically, another economic engine has been tourism. What do you think the prospects are for tourism, and how do you see that coming back? Obviously, that's been devastated. It really has been. But how do we come back? What do you think the prospects are?
I believe the prospects are good because even though it's going to be more difficult on the international side, and that has been building nicely with the nonstop flights across the pond to London and to Frankfurt, I would expect that with Mexico, things will return pretty quickly. And we saw a lot of increased nonstop activity to Mexico. And thanks to people like our friend Glenn Williamson, a lot of more nonstops up north or northeast as well. So what I expect is that tourism will come back a little bit slower, but because we have world-class resorts and we have to me the best weather, as long as the sun's going to continue to shine, we're going to be okay. But I don't want to minimize the devastation that's happened in that industry. 300,000 jobs, probably at least a half have been wiped out. But we're lucky that we've got great leaders like Debbie Johnson at the Arizona Association of Tourism and Kim Sabo running the foundation, and then great people like your counterpart Steve Chukri, who also runs the Restaurant Association.
Yeah, I think he's okay.
You're my favorite supervisor, but Steve is still in the top 5.
He does a great job in District 2.
We're going to work our way through this, and we're going to work our way through it like we always do, with our head down, I'm glad you mentioned the tourism sector, because that I do believe is going to require some extra attention. I think some of the national parks, while Grand Canyon is not in Maricopa County, when people go to the Grand Canyon, maybe they fly into Phoenix.
Absolutely.
They go up. So I'm still very, very bullish. And I do want to say this: wherever I go in the country and the world, I am always amazed at people who have come to Arizona and they've stayed in our hotels or resorts. These individuals are the best ambassadors we have. I can't tell you how many times, and I'm sure you've heard this, where people were just coming on vacation, and the next thing you know, well, maybe we can move part of the business here. Maybe we can move the whole business here. Maybe we can get a second home here. And, the sports tourism with the Super Bowls and Michael Bidwell and the Cactus League having half the games here and being able to go to, all of them within a, very short period drive. We have great assets that are permanent assets. And as things come back, we will, just the way we're well situated in manufacturing and other areas, technology, I would expect tourism will be a similar story.
And you're right about all that. Another one of the great assets we have are the Maricopa County parks, and we've been very fortunate to keep those open. And we've had a lot of people out there. I mean, just that opportunity to get outside, enjoy the weather, get out of the house now more than ever. I think it's been very beneficial, and I think maybe some people have discovered our parks, right? Because our parks tend to be on the edge, the periphery of the county. But people are getting out, and now hopefully they'll keep coming back when this is over.
Well, I believe it was wise to keep them open, again, with social distancing. Vitamin D is good. Health, exercise is important. And I believe that you take a look at what we've done here, keeping these parks open in a responsible way. It's been a model for other localities and states to safely do the same.
Yeah, it can be done. And as the governor stressed yesterday, people are going to have to exercise responsibility in the next few months, just the way they have the last 2 months. And I have faith in our residents here and our visitors. But we've got to keep up on it. I know you've been spreading that message too. This isn't the time to give up. Things are going to be different, but we can go and be successful and live our lives.
So your point is exactly right. If we continue to be responsible as businesses, which I'm confident we will be, and we continue to be responsible as citizens, we will make sure that we can live with this virus. It's not, it's still going to be difficult. It's still a deadly virus where there's no great treatment or cure, even though there is progress being made on both fronts. But it's going to be up to us. If we continue to do all the things that we have been doing as a community, we'll be able to get through this. And as the governor said, we entered this pandemic as the strongest economy in the country, and we will exit it that same way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Glenn, I know how busy you are. I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to join me. Is there anything else you'd like for our viewers to know or think about as kind of your last parting shot?
It's just to exercise respect, be responsible. Let's protect those who are most vulnerable. Let's stay connected, be humane, and we will weather this this difficult storm. And I'll just say, I don't believe there's a better place in the world to go through this difficult period than the state of Arizona. So just please be safe out there.
No, thank you so much for that message and for all the work you're doing now, and you're always doing on behalf of the people of Arizona, the businesses of Arizona. And Glenn, if you ever need anything, Maricopa County is here to support you. And thanks so much for taking the time to come on the show.
Thanks for having me on.
All right. Well, thanks to everyone for joining us for the first coffee here today, virtual coffee. Look forward to having others. Everyone else is going to pale, of course, in comparison to Glenn. But look forward to having other business leaders, elected officials in the months ahead. So thanks so much for joining us. And everybody, please be safe out there. Thanks so much.